Welcome to a very special episode of The Capitalist Investor. Super Bowl Sunday's around the corner, D.
Oh, yeah. One of the best days of the year.
Yeah, Browns should be in it, though.
They really should. 3rd and 14 against, who was it, Chad Henne?
Yeah.
I thought that guy was out of the league 20 years ago.
The guy who ended up making the tackle on him, poor field awareness, because he was standing about 2 yards behind the first down line. 2 yards behind it. You should be a yard or two in front of it.
Yep.
I don't understand what he was doing. He must not have known where he was on the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God.
It was rough.
Yeah.
The Browns, they outperformed for sure. And by the end of that game, there were so many injuries, practice squad players, the whole deal. So they had a great season.
But I'm very proud of the Browns.
Yeah,
very proud
sure.
of the Bills, too. Bills aren't my team, but they went very far. Unfortunately, they couldn't pull it off in the AFC Championship. But, our two Rust Belt teams did pretty well this year.
Yeah, looking good.
Right?
Bright future, too.
Even going back to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had a great season. They kind of, squandered a little bit in the second half. But, kind of these old school teams, you definitely saw a resurgence this year, which was great for us in Cleveland. All right, so we got the Chiefs versus the Bucs. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about something known as the Super Bowl Indicator. So here's the deal. According to the Super Bowl Indicator, when the AFC wins, that would be the Chiefs for you non-NFL fans. If the AFC wins or the Chiefs win the next year, which is the rest of this year, right, I should say, 2021, we'll see a decline in the stock market.
Right.
On the other hand, if the NFC wins, that would be Tampa Bay. That foretells a bull market for this year. So we can just kind of go through the numbers here and figure out if this thing works, right? I mean, this is totally random, totally arbitrary. But the funny thing is it's kind of worked.
Yes.
Kind of,
Kind of.
I mean, I think it's right. So let's see. This idea rolled out in 1978.
Yep.
And it was kind of back-tested back to 1967, right? So from 1967 through 2020, 40 out of 53 times it was right.
Right.
So that's right around 75-ish%. I don't have my calculator in front of me, but 40 out of 50 would be 80. That's a little worse than 80.
Yeah, I think it's about 75.
All right, we're going to go with 75. So, that is that's pretty impressive.
It is.
Now, I can also say the stock market's probably up 75% of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does that mean? Does that mean the NFC won 75% of the time? Maybe that's the case.
Maybe.
Maybe that's why we're having this conversation right now. I didn't look that up, but you never know.
Well, I think we can throw a quick disclaimer in here. So the backwards testing when you're trying to prove something out, especially in the stock market.
A little bit of confirmation bias.
Exactly.
You know what you're trying to prove, and you finagle the numbers until it proves you right.
Yeah. So I'm not too keen on that info that they looked at when I think they started this in 78. But before then, if I'm not mistaken, it was pretty much looking at the backwards testing. It was pretty much right 100% of the time.
Really?
Yeah. So, however, what I'm looking...
The stock market does not care if Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes wins.
I do not think so.
Stock market doesn't care at all.
The stock market is probably sick of Tom Brady, just like everyone else.
Yeah. The GOAT, though. You got to give it to the guy.
The guy is unbelievable.
He's the GOAT. Chris was telling me his chances of making the Super Bowl like 47%. That's better than Steph Curry hitting a three.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that tweet.
Wow.
That's insane.
47% of the time the dude's in the Super Bowl.
I saw something else on Twitter that Tom Brady, his career after 35, so 35 and later, is still basically the best career that anyone's ever had.
Wow. He's a beast.
It's unbelievable.
And Mahomes is the next GOAT, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, this really should be an unbelievable Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes is better than any other quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah.
By a wide margin.
Yeah.
So, it's tough to beat a quarterback like that when he's got incredible weapons.
Yep.
And he has two of the best in the game.
Yeah.
So if you're going to beat the Chiefs, you got to get lucky with a turnover, and you got to pretty much score every time.
Yeah.
That's really the recipe for winning.
Yep. No doubt.
So I think important to point out on this indicator, as I'm pretty sure it's been wrong the last 5 years in a row.
Okay. And the market's done a tremendous job over the last 5 years.
Exactly.
So had you gotten into bear mode, you'd be crying yourself to sleep every night.
Exactly.
Okay. So lesson learned just based off of that alone.
Right.
Anything we talk about in the show is for fun only. Like there's no good takeaway for you on it. Do not do this at home.
Yep. This is we're not telling you to bet the farm if the NFC wins, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But look, it's before that it's pretty cool. But 2016 Denver Broncos, that 2016 seems like decades ago now. But the Broncos won. Market was up 12%. That was not right. 2017 the Patriots won, and the market was up 21.8%. So that was wrong.
Don't want to miss that one.
In 2018 the Eagles won. That was a very memorable Super Bowl for sure.
Yep.
Market was down 6.24% that year.
Did you mention 2008?
I did not.
The Giants won, which would have gotten the NFC, which would have gotten you bullish.
Right.
That's a big mistake. 2008 was not a good year. So some of the mistakes have been really bad mistakes, right? I guess when you look at it from a performance standpoint.
Well, I guess you can look at it this way. I'm about to create a new index right here live. The Patriots in 2017, isn't that the year that they lost in the very last second when Russell Wilson threw that interception on the goal line?
Yes.
Or was that 2014?
I'm going to say 17.
I think it was 17.
Yeah.
In 2008, that was the helmet catch, right, with Eli Manning?
Yes.
So if you have a crazy ending, then it may flip around.
Oh, there we go. All right, you gotta watch the whole game.
Yep.
What was it? The Patriots versus the Falcons a couple years ago when the Patriots were getting smoked at halftime.
That was 2017.
That was 2017.
Yeah,
okay.
that must have been.
Gotcha. That was unbelievable. I was ready to go to sleep at halftime. It was such a bad game.
It was crazy.
Wow. All right, so let's get into some indicators that actually do work.
Yeah.
So I jotted down a few notes. I'm sure you did as well. First one I'm going to go with, D, is equity risk premium.
Okay.
I know it's way too technical for a fun Super Bowl show. All right, here's what it means. Let me keep it very simple. You take the earnings yield on the S&P 500. Well, you might say, what is the earnings yield? Well, if the PE is 20, you take 100 divided by 20, and that gives you 5. That is the earnings yield. It's not the P over the E, it's the E over the P.
Right.
It's the reciprocal. So you take the earnings yield on the S&P 500 and subtract the earning or the yield on the 10-year Treasury. Okay. Right now we're at about maybe 230, 240 basis points. When you're in that 200 to 300 basis point tranche, forward-looking returns over the next 12 months in the S&P are about 11%. When we drop down to the 100 to 200 spread, forward-looking returns drop to 5%.
Okay.
Right? So what does this do? This is basically a measure of the attractiveness of stocks versus bonds. The higher the number, the more attractive stocks are.
Right.
And the more attractive stocks are at that point in time, the better the future returns are. So that's something that I like to look at, right?
Yep.
Tough for you to find it in most places. Not the most simple thing to understand. I hope I made it as easy as possible, but equity risk premium is kind of a measure of TINA. There is no alternative. Is there an alternative? If treasuries are paying 5%, maybe there's an alternative, right? And maybe people start, throwing money at treasuries. But right now at 1%, you're not going to get rich at 1%.
I think it's a very overlooked factor in the overall market right now that everyone just seems to gloss over. If you want to make any money right now, it's basically your only choice is the U.S. stock market.
Yeah.
And I don't see that changing in the short term.
Yep, I agree. So that's one thing I use, equity risk premium. I wrote down a few others. I'm just going to go with one other, and we'll see if you want to add anything. I like to look at the percentage of S&P stocks that are trading above the 50-day and the 200-day moving average. Mm-hmm. When it's above 50, you're in an uptrend. When it's above 50%.
Right.
When it's at like 90%, you are in a very strong uptrend, right? Obviously, if you're talking about stocks above the 200-day, that's more of a longer-term trend as opposed to the 50-day, which is like a short-term trader's trend, right? But that's something I like to look at, right? When that's high, you feel confident that you can buy the pullbacks. When you're below 50%, you probably want to reconsider buying pullbacks, right? Maybe you should let the thing fall a little further before you get in.
Right.
So those are two indicators that I like to look at. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of other stuff. Anything you want to chat about?
Yeah, I think based off of kind of what's going on in the market right now, is kind of the talks being dominated by some of these Reddit message board wonders like GameStop, and now we got AMC and things like that. It's really a good chance to mention to everyone about all of this craziness will eventually sort itself out. It's what the stock market does.
Yeah.
And the old indicators that people used to look at, back in the olden days, back in 2017, 2018, when people were actually trying to pick out stocks, based on what their value was. Maybe the good old PE ratio will come back into play. How expensive a stock is based on the earnings of a company.
Yeah.
It will at some point. I don't know if that's next week or next month or 5 years down the road, but it's something important to keep in the back of your mind. This is a fun Super Bowl show, but it's something that's really kind of sent red flags off for me, is that don't always get in on these momentum trades just because you're afraid of missing out. If you're going to get into some of these companies, especially when we're talking about this stuff at the beginning of the year, make sure you like the story. Yeah. Make sure you like the fundamentals. Not all of these huge momentum stocks are going to stay at the levels that they're at right now.
Yeah.
As of recording this show. So, maybe 2021 is the year, maybe even for our listeners, of getting back to the fundamentals a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah, so you keep that in mind when you're out there.
Well, typically, D, at this stage of the recovery, this is when earnings begin to drive stock prices.
Right.
Like last year, every single company got a free pass.
Yeah.
In 2020, you didn't have to beat your earnings estimates, and you didn't have to provide guidance, right? So the street just kind of picked a number, and it was a very low hurdle, and then every quarter everyone beat, you know? This year, investors are going to want to see some visibility, and it is time for companies to begin to provide solid guidance. It's time for them to have some visibility, provide guidance, and it's time for them to execute, right? They're going to be held accountable.
Absolutely.
So I do believe that will happen. Maybe if not in the first half of this year, by the second half of the year.
Yep.
All right, man, let's wrap up with our Super Bowl predictions. So we got Pat Mahomes. Patrick. I called him Pat like we're best friends. Go back to Patrick, his formal name. We got Patrick Mahomes, who in my opinion is the best quarterback in football right now, versus Tom Brady, who is the best quarterback of all time.
Right.
Maybe Patrick Mahomes will unseat him at some point. That remains to be seen. Brady has been playing forever, and he has been able to avoid major injuries, which is like, that's a big thing, dude. You got to have a stroke of luck, or you have to have the most unbelievable offensive line.
Right.
Probably both.
Yep.
What's your prediction, dude? It looks like the Chiefs are favored by 3. The Chiefs are the returning Super Bowl champions from last year.
Yep.
So they won it last year. Who do you like, the Chiefs or the Bucs?
So, you mentioned the Bills. I lived in Buffalo, as I mentioned before I moved to Cleveland. So definitely a Browns fan, but I was a Bills fan first. But I believe both the Bills and the Browns are developing a pretty formidable rivalry with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to beat Patrick Mahomes if they want to win anything.
Without a doubt.
So I don't like Patrick Mahomes anymore.
Because of what he did to our two teams.
Exactly. So
now Buffalo's not my team, but
Yep.
You're Buffalo and Browns, right?
Right.
All right.
So I'm going to take the Bucs, Tampa Bay, 38-31.
Wow. That's impressive. So Brady's going to get another.
Yep. That's kind of what I'm rooting for.
Wow. All right, I'll take the Chiefs. I do not. I don't know, man. I mean, if Brady can pull this off, man, like I would not be mad if Brady won another one. Mm-hmm. So look, I'm going with the team that I think it has the edge. I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes is just the dude's electrifying.
Yep.
Right? He's just unbelievable. Brady is probably the smartest quarterback to ever play the game, right? I mean, and he just knows how to win.
Right.
So I think the Chiefs are going to edge him out. Will they cover the 3-point spread? Yeah, I'm going to say yes, but they will win by less than 7. So it'll be a close game. Yep. It'll be a very, very fun game. I mean, this is one people talk about. For how old is Tom Brady? Is he like 42, 43?
I think he's 43.
Jeez, oh man. That would just, I mean, when's the last time he won a Super Bowl? 2 or 3 years ago? Was it 17 or did he win one after that? Do you remember?
I think I still have it up. He won wasn't it 19?
I don't know.
I wrote that down somewhere.
Well, look, the guy is just, the best ever. And if at age 43 you can win another Super Bowl, I mean, I don't know how much better his career would be. He's already the GOAT. But nevertheless, man, this is going to be just an awesome Super Bowl. Plus, The Weeknd is doing the halftime show.
Yep.
I mean, if you don't like The Weeknd, we got problems. We can't be friends.
Everyone likes that.
If you don't like The Weeknd, we can't be friends. All right, everyone, have fun watching the game. Hope you enjoyed this special episode. Hope I didn't bore you with my equity risk premium talk.
2019 was the Patriots over the Falcons.
Wow.
The 24-3 comeback.
That was one heck of a game, man. All right, everyone, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. And enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend. Have a good one.